The Formula One paddock has arrived at the iconic Suzuka circuit for this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix under a cloud of regulatory controversy, with the sport's governing body making a last-minute intervention to address one of the most contentious issues of the 2026 season so far. The FIA, following unanimous agreement with all 11 teams and every power unit manufacturer on the grid, has announced a targeted adjustment to the energy management parameters specifically for qualifying, reducing the maximum permitted energy recharge from 9.0 megajoules to 8.0 megajoules. It is a move that signals the governing body is listening. But for the sport's most dominant driver of recent years, Max Verstappen, it is too little, too late. The 2026 regulatory overhaul was always going to be one of the most seismic shifts in Formula One's modern history. With the complete redesign of both chassis and power unit regulations, the sport entered uncharted territory at the season opener in Melbourne earlier this month. Central to this new framework is a dramatically increased emphasis on electrical energy deployment, a philosophical pivot that was further reinforced by the removal of the MGUH from 2026 power units altogether. The result is a so-called 50-50 hybrid architecture, where the balance between the internal combustion engine and electrical systems is more delicate, more intricate, and, as the opening 2 rounds in Australia and China have painfully demonstrated, far more disruptive to the raw spectacle of qualifying than many had anticipated or hoped. The practice at the heart of the controversy is what has quickly become known across the paddock and among fans as superclipping. This phenomenon occurs when drivers, in a bid to recover the electrical energy required to complete their qualifying laps with full hybrid deployment, are forced to manage energy at full throttle on sections of the circuit, resulting in visible speed loss on straights where, under previous regulations, the cars would have been traveling at maximum velocity. Drivers have been observed lifting in areas of the track that have traditionally been flat-out zones, a sight that has proven deeply unsettling to both the competitors themselves and the wider Formula One community. Beyond superclipping, the energy recharge process can also be achieved through braking energy recovery and the technique known as lift and coast, both of which similarly compromise the purity of a qualifying lap. The frustration has been building since before the season even began. Even in the pre-season testing phase, teams and drivers were raising concerns with the FIA about the nature of the new energy management rules. It is a situation that speaks volumes about just how significant the challenge of calibrating these new regulations has been. The complaints did not begin once racing commenced, but before a single competitive kilometer had been driven. 2 rounds in, and with no signs of the issue resolving itself naturally, the governing body has taken decisive, if incremental, action. In their official statement, the FIA were careful to frame this adjustment as part of a normal, iterative process, rather than an admission of fundamental failure. This targeted refinement is part of the normal process of optimization, as the new regulatory framework is further validated in real-world conditions. The statement read, in part, with the governing body also noting that the first events under the 2026 regulations had been operationally successful. They were equally clear on their rationale. That driver and team feedback had emphasized the importance of maintaining qualifying as a genuine performance challenge, not an exercise in energy accountancy. Further discussions between the FIA, teams, and power unit manufacturers are scheduled in the coming weeks, suggesting that Thursday's announcement is the beginning of an ongoing dialogue rather than the end of the conversation. Whether this particular adjustment will prove sufficient to transform the qualifying experience at Suzuka remains very much an open question. The Japanese Grand Prix circuit is unlike any other on the calendar. Suzuka is a temple of high-speed motorsport, a figure-of-8 layout that demands extraordinary commitment from drivers, particularly through the legendary S's, Degner curves, and the notoriously rapid final sector. It is a circuit that has historically rewarded raw mechanical grip and aerodynamic efficiency above almost all else. The prospect of drivers having to manage their energy deployment through sections of Suzuka that have previously been taken without compromise is anathema to everything the circuit represents. Reducing the recharge requirement by a single megajoule may well ease the burden, but whether it will eliminate it entirely on this specific track profile is something only practice and qualifying will reveal. And then there is Max Verstappen. The four-time Formula One world champion has been the most vocal, most persistent, and most quotable critic of the 2026 regulations from the moment they were introduced. His unhappiness is not merely the grumbling of a driver temporarily out of form. It is a deeply held philosophical objection to what he perceives as the sport moving away from its core identity. Speaking to assembled media in Suzuka on Thursday, Verstappen did not mince his words when asked about the FIA's latest adjustment. These are minor changes, and next year we'll need more substantial adjustments. It makes only a small difference, just not enough, he stated bluntly, his frustration barely concealed beneath the measured delivery. For a man who has won the last 4 editions of the Japanese Grand Prix, there was also a notable lack of any confidence that his record at Suzuka would offer him particular comfort this time around. "I don't dwell on previous years. Every season is different. We have to be realistic. Right now, we aren't even close to that level. I'll take the weekend as it comes and see where we stand," he admitted, with a candor that underlines just how differently the competitive landscape looks under the 2026 framework. Verstappen's broader criticisms of the new regulations have been nothing short of incendiary. During pre-season testing, the Dutchman delivered what may well become the defining soundbite of this regulatory era, when he described the new Formula One as Formula E on steroids, a damning assessment that resonated far beyond the Red Bull garage. He has spoken of being emotionally drained by the demands of the new cars and has consistently argued that a qualifying format built around energy management rather than outright speed fundamentally undermines the competitive spirit of the sport. These are not the complaints of a driver struggling to adapt. They are the objections of the grid's reference point, a man whose opinion carries enormous weight in the paddock and beyond. What happens this weekend at Suzuka will be watched with enormous interest by every stakeholder in the sport. For the FIA, it is an opportunity to demonstrate that the reduced recharge limit translates into a noticeably cleaner, more aggressive qualifying session. One that fans can recognize as the high-stakes, flat-out spectacle that Saturday afternoon in Formula One is meant to represent. For the drivers, it is a chance to finally experience a qualifying lap in the 2026 cars that feels closer to the visceral, uncompromising experience they signed up for. And for Verstappen, it is another data point in what appears to be a long-running campaign for more fundamental reform. The FIA has made its move. Suzuka will deliver its verdict.